Hello, MSL595. I am Cindy Strawbridge, and I am excited to present to you all my briefing on my simulation experience. So, we are going to talk about Spectrum sunglasses. I don't know about you, but I love a good pair of sunglasses. And not only do I love a good pair of sunglasses, but I love different color sunglasses. And I will tell you that I am a huge fan of Spectrum sunglasses. And when I say a huge fan, I mean a huge fan. I cannot tell you how many pairs I have. Matter of fact, I have way too many pairs to count. But you will see I am modeling two of our lines. One is our fall collection, and then certainly our spring collection that just hit. One thing about Spectrum sunglasses is that we are durable, we are fun, but most importantly, we are affordable. Everything we do with our customer in mind. So I want to tell you a little bit about Spectrum sunglasses and what happened during my retreat. I shared my primary focus certainly with the team for Spectrum moving forward. And what does that look like? Well, number one, want to eliminate 25% of waste by redesigning the manufacturing process. Number two, reduce the current level of greenhouse gas emission by 15%. We're all about going green, but we're also about healthy and clean air. And then three, create a new product line based entirely on environmental benign materials. We are all about the environment. We want a fun product, right? We want a product that's trendy, but we want to do it in designing it. We want it to be safe. And now, I'd like to introduce you to Spectrum Sunglasses organizational chart. You will see here at Spectrum Sunglasses, the group is a diverse group, not just diverse in race, but also diverse in gender, diverse in leadership skills, and diverse in the level of management. And what I love about this is that you have some people in the organization that will pivot and will make the necessary changes to move the organization forward. But with a company and an organizational chart as large as Spectrum Glasses is, you'll find that there are also some people who are traditional. They've been with the company 20 years, and so this is how they've always done it. And so sometimes change can be difficult. Sometimes change can be uncomfortable. And so stay tuned as I continue to unravel my simulation experience. So we just viewed a Spectrum Sunglasses organizational chart, and now I want to share with you some of the strategy levers. Now there are several of them, but after 100 attempts of me doing this, I realized that there were some key strategy levers that needed to go in a certain order. And here's what I found. One of the ones that worked for me almost every time was clarifying organizational values. And I realized that people want to know really where are we going? What is our mission? What is our vision? What is our goal? And how do we get there? Another strategy lever that was so paramount was holding a town hall meeting. You know why? Because people want to know what's happening all at the same time. Nobody wants to hear what's happening with an organization. Nobody wants to hear what's happening with change from somebody else. People want to hear it. We've all heard that adage. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, right? And so I saw that when I conducted a town hall meeting, I almost got immediate buy-in with no resistance, with no hesitation. And something else that the group wanted. They wanted you to take the time to get to know them. So I conducted private interviews that went extremely well as well, because people knew that if I was taking the time, that they mattered and that they were cared about, that I thought enough of them that I would want to conduct private interviews. Well, so it is with us in corporate America. We want to know that our opinion matters. We want to know that we're valued. We want to know that our leaders care about how we feel and what we think. And I experienced that firsthand with this simulation experience. And then they were very receptive for me bringing in a consultant. Because why? Sometimes when you are in an organization, when you've been doing things for so long, sometimes it's good to bring fresh pair of eyes in. And so they were very huge on bringing in a consultant. And they didn't mind sharing a success story, right? In every organization, you have things that go extremely well. You have some things that could be improved upon, but when you celebrate your employees, when you are making the changes that you talk about and they can see the manifestation, I can almost guarantee you every time there will be a success story. I've seen it all too many times with Spectrum sunglasses. Every time I did private interviews, when I called town hall meetings, I almost could guarantee there was a success story. So, what was my overall strategy? My overall strategy in a nutshell was I needed to get to know my team. It wasn't until I realized after doing the simulation quite a few times, having a lot of road bumps along the way, I had to step back and say, wait a minute, you want all of these changes made, but you don't even know the team. So I had to first get to know the team. And once I got to know the team, I brought them all together. That way they heard the information, the goal, the vision, the objective all at once. And then I took time to sit with them and I conducted private interviews. Change agent and influence. I tell you what, you got to get some key people on your side. And when you get some key people on your side, then things will move. Andrew Chin. I tell you what, if I got him on board, I was almost good to go. He was very analytical and thought, and sometimes, depending on the day, depending on the simulation exercise, sometimes I get a buy-in, sometimes not so much. Mary Gupnat. She was very, very receptive to change, and she didn't mind sharing a success story. She was indeed just a great employee. Every time that I reached out to her, she almost always responded. And then Michelle Barth. She was firm but wise, appeared to have a lot of influence, but it also depended on my role, whether I was the CEO or the director. So, next step, right? What was the next step? So after I got to know my people, I conducted the town hall meeting, conducted private interviews, I heard a few success stories. I was able to move people from awareness to trial, and from trial they eventually got the buy-in. I made my credibility, and here was my final outcome. I was able to convince enough adapters to share the vision, and not only the vision, but to celebrate and move the company forward for Spectrum sunglasses. Great strides were made, but it didn't come without great opposition, right? No different than real life. You have the good and the bad, and then you have the in-between. I was able to gain the confidence of 19 adapters. But again, I want to stress that this took time. This did not happen overnight, and it did not happen on my first try. I tried over and over, but I was resilient, and I was indeed persistent, and that sometimes makes the difference. While I was firm, I was also fair, and I was able to maintain credibility. I was able to maintain that. Now, early on, I lost credibility almost immediately. But that's because I didn't take the time to learn my team. I didn't take the time to share the vision and the mission with the whole entire team. And I never conducted private interviews. And that's where I went wrong. But once I figured out those few tricks, I was good to go from there. Here were some common themes along the way. I lost credibility. And when I lost credibility, it was really hard to regain it. And that's true in life, right? When you lose credibility, it's easy to gain it, but once you've lost it, it's difficult to gain it back. It appeared that the best way was to include the whole organization up front, right? People wanted to know. People didn't want to hear anything backdoor. They didn't want to hear it from the horses, but they wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. And then I tell you what, if you got the right people to buy in, if you got the right people on your team, it made the difference, and it was able to help us accomplish the goal. So sometimes having the right person on your team is good. Now, I want to stress to you, the right person on the team is not always the person that's going to say yes. Sometimes the right person on the team is the person that might give you a little resistance. It might be the person that's a little apprehensive, but they will cause you to look at all aspects, and they will cause you to go back and make the necessary changes if it's necessary to drive the organization forward. Blue Ocean Leadership says it best. When people value your leadership practices, they in effect buy your leadership. In other words, to whom much is given, much is required. You lead by example. Let your yes be a yes and your no be a no. Connect leadership to market realities by engaging people who confront them, and distribute leadership across different management levels. It makes the difference. Here's what I learned during my simulation experience, that strategy formation is necessary, planned versus emergent, right? Learning how to gain strategic insight. How do you move the bus forward to get the results and to reach your destination? It's so key. And then number two, you can plan, you can cast vision all day long, but execution is necessary. People want to know that you are not only talking the talk, but you'll walk the walk. And with this simulation experience, they wanted to know, did I have what it takes to move the organization forward? Was I committed? Was I all in? Here's something that's so profound. The strategic leader is defined as an individual who, regardless of role, position, or title, intentionally takes advantage of opportunities to think strategically, influence others towards a chosen course of action, and garner needed buy-in, commitment, and advocacy. That's what this whole simulation experience was about. It was about being a strategic leader as an individual, and it didn't matter your role or your position. At the end of the day, were you able to get the buy-in from the people? At the end of the day, were you able to shift the organization forward? Being a strategic leader is about actions, choosing the right actions, and being able to pivot, being able to influence, and being able to build and uplift those in who support. So, I hope, like me, you were able to discover what type of leader are you. There are 4 types of strategic leadership, and with this simulation, I had to really kind of think to myself, what kind of leader are you? What kind of leader is going to help drive this organization? So just want to share with you real brief the 4 types of strategic leadership. You have the visionary leadership. They're easy to identify, charismatic, often controversial. Then you have an incubating leadership. Those are the ones that encourage their leaders and see potential, and they nurture it. Directive leadership. They are often known as the traditional form of leadership. They're confident, decisive, often project driven. And then you have collaborative leadership. They love to work in teams. They're all about building partnership. So I hope during the simulation experience you were able to identify what type of leader are you. MSL595, I want to leave you with this quote. And the quote simply says this: become the kind of leader that people would follow voluntarily, even if you had no title or position. The simulation experience has taught us all a great deal. But if I can encourage you, but most importantly, I challenge you, be a leader worth following. And I thank you all so much for this time and this season. And keep your shades on as you pursue and go forth. It's been a pleasure. For those of you who are graduating, I bid you farewell. And for those of you who, like myself, have another semester, I'll see you next semester. Have a great semester. Best of luck to you all. Bye.